Hajj ibn Asqalani, who's a big scholar too on Hadith, I came across this book of Bulugh al-Maram, and how that was like very beautiful, how he put together. I guess that was for like for qadis, for judges or something, but I saw a lot of different hadiths that I wouldn't see in other books. I don't know if you could speak a little more about that, but also my other question is two parts. When I read like certain books, such as like certain scholars, they would claim that they're Maliki or Ashari, but then at some point they reach a mujtahid level. And can like what level this person have to go through that, and how do they arrive to that?
So about the Bulugh al-Maram, there's two books that are very popular in that genre, which is what are called Ahadith al-Ahkam. So these are Hadith like Umdat al-Ahkam al-Maqdisi. That and Bulugh al-Maram are both used. They're very similar, but they have the majority of hadiths that are used, because when you look at the ayat al-ahkam and the hadith that relate to fiqh rulings, they're not that many, because many rulings. I mean, I once asked him when I was probably like 20 years old, and I asked I had read that Imam al-Awza'i afta bi 70,000 masala bi qala Allah wa qala Rasulullah. Like I mean, it might be an exaggeration, I don't know, but I read a biography of Imam al-Awza'i when I was very young, when I was in the Emirates studying. And Hisham al-Burhani had done his PhD on fiqh al-Awza'i, and he was one of my teachers. So I read this biography. One of the things I remember from it, which I really liked, was he was on his way to, because he was from Syria, but he was on his way to Beirut, and he came to a fork in the road, and there was a cemetery. And there was an old woman sitting on the side of the road. And he didn't know which one went to Beirut. And he said, Ayyuhuma lil Ma'mura, meaning the city. Ma'mura means the place where people are living. And she said, Al-Ma'mura huna. Like, and she pointed to the graveyard. إِذَا تُرِيدُ الْمَقْبَرَةَ فَهُنَاكَ. If you want the graveyard, you can go there. Like, and he took it as an ishara that they needed ihya, like that he went to revive the city. And he did. And they say that tens of thousands of people became Muslim the day he died. A lot of Christians and everything. There were so many people out. In any case, that was a little detour. So the books of Ahkam, the one Ibn Hajar's book and the one of Imam al-Maqdisi, those were very common. And they have generally commentaries by different madhabs. So we have like one of the Maliki scholars did a commentary on Umdat al-Ahkam. So he'll show you, we don't agree with this for this reason. So that's one of the things. So it's important to not use these books to derive your rulings from, because that's the level of a mujtahid. So now you asked about the mujtahid. So there's different levels of ijtihad. There's ijtihad al-mas'ala. So you have an ijtihad of a mas'ala. Shaykh Muhammad Bufaris, Shaykh Talal. There's different scholars here that could do that, which is where you study one issue really well, and you really know it from a lot of different perspectives, and you come up with your, like the, Yusuf Ismail, who will be the first to admit, he's not a mujtahid, but he's doing ijtihad in the prayer times, right? Because so in masala, even a doctor can do that. There's ijtihad in tib, for instance, those type things. That just means you're exhausting your efforts to try to understand a situation. Most of us are what are called muqallidun. Taqleed is that you follow somebody, but you don't know their dalil, but you know that they're trustworthy. So if I follow Malik, I'm trusting that Malik was a rightly guided imam because all the ummah says he was rightly guided. And so I trust him. So when Malik says, in the Mudawwana, they asked about holding the hands at the side or doing qabad. He said, La a'rafuhu fil farida. I don't know it in the farida. So he saw it as a, so most of the Malikis, the mashhur of the madhab is sadru yadin, like Ibn Ashur says, that you leave the hands at the side. The muttabi', which is a later term, a muttabi' is somebody who follows the imam, but he knows the dalil, right? But they're not like a mujtahid. They just know, like if you ask them, why do you hold your hands at your side? They'll say, oh, because it's the amal of Ahl al-Madinah. There's no sahih hadith for qabd. All of them have ilal, as been shown by the fuqah of the Maliki, something like that. Like he'll know how to defend his position of not just being a blind follower. And then you have mujtahid, just fatwa, right? So somebody who has enough knowledge and they can do an ijtihad, like somebody comes and asks them for something. If they know the mashhur of the madhab, they can just give the opinion. They're not a mujtahid, they're just a mufti. So they just give the opinion. But if they've studied enough to where they can, if a new issue comes up, they can actually examine the issue. Now Shaykh Abdullah bin Biyya has a haram, a triangle. He calls it Fatwa Alif, Fatwa Ba, and Fatwa Jim. Fatwa Alif, he says, are those things that people that are educated in their madhab, in their school, they know the methodology of their teacher, that they can, if a new issue comes up, if it's in the areas, or they can give fatwa, then that, and then Ba is, it means more like somebody who has to have a deeper knowledge. And then Jim can't be done by individuals. It can only be done by government bodies, like declaring war. You can't have an individual declare war. Like I declare war on California. It'd create anarchy. So, and then you have mujtahid madhab, which is somebody who's in the madhab, and he chooses, like Qadi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi, he'll choose the preferred opinion for him as a mujtahid. So he'll look, and even though the madhab might say that fatwa is marjuh, you know, like it's not the rajih, it's not the predominant one, it's not mashhur. He'll say the dalil's stronger with that. So he'll say, I'm going to do qabd, because I think إمام مالك يروي عن سهل بن سعد في الموطأ أن كان الناس يؤمرون أن يجعلوا اليد اليمنى على اليسرى في الصلاة. So I'm going to take that hadith because I think that's the rajih position. So that's mujtahid murajjah. And then you have mujtahid muqayyad. And that's somebody who actually, that's like Ibn al-Qasim. So those people they've reached a level where they're a mujtahid, but they're still using the usul of the madhab of their imam. And then finally you have mujtahid mutlaq. And that person is somebody who comes up with his own usul. So those are like Abu Hanifa, Layth ibn Sa'ad, Imam Abdurrahman al-Awza'i, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, Imam al-Tabari. كان يعتبر من هؤلاء. Some say al-Bukhari was a mujtahid mutlaq. Some say he was Shafi'i. The majority, Tajuddin al-Subki puts him in the tabaqat al-Shafi'iyya. So Allahu a'lam. His opinions seem to coincide with the Shafi'i madhab, so there's a strong case that he was Shafi'i. Although I once asked one of the Mauritanians why all the great muhaddithun were Shafi'i. And he said, la, anta basir, yani, look a little deeper. He said, look at all Imam Nawawi, who's he quoting? He's quoting all Malikis like Ibn Battal and Qadi Iyad. These are just nukat. Yeah. Is that clear? Yeah. Taqleed's it's a blameworthy state, but if it's your state, don't get above not your pay grade, but your pray grade. Yeah. You know, because the hadith are there's hadith that are mutadariba. Their hadith literally contradict each other. And they're both sahih. And so the ulama have all these ways of trying to get tawfiq between them. Is it nasikh? Is it mansukh? Is there a way to interpret it in which they can be understood like that? So people go astray. Ibn Wahb said, أكثرت من الحديث حتى تحيرت ولولا ليث ومالك لهلكت. I learned so many hadith, and he's one of the top men of al-Bukhari, Ibn Wahb from Egypt. He said, I learned so many hadith I became confused. And had it not been for Layth and Malik, I would have perished. And he said, I went to Malik, وكان أقول له الحديث يقول دع هذا. Leave that one. There's no amal on that hadith. خذ هذا. And so he actually helped him understand the hadith. Yeah. I mean, partly I think one of the secrets is to force people to think, because the thing about Islam, it's a thinking person's religion. It's not a religion for dummies. I mean, you can be a dummy and be a Muslim. But the religion itself, the deen, it's not it's a religion. The Quran was revealed in a way, it's not a linear book. It's a book that needs deep ta'ammul. The deeper you do the ta'ammul, the more cohesion you see in it. But if you go to it just as a book, a lot of people read it and they're like, what? It's like changing tenses, it's changing first person, second person, third person, iltifat in balagha. Like they really have a difficult time. But the deeper you go into the Quran, the more cohesion there is. And it's been brought out by people like Imam al-Biqa'i and some of the great commentators, Sahib Adwa al-Bayan, Quran bil-Quran. I mean, a lot of the Quranic tafsirs are purely linear, but people like Ibn Zubair, al-Gharanati, Imam al-Biqa'i, one of the great Lebanese scholars, they show that there's a deep tanasub in the Quran that can only be penetrated through deep study. And the hadith are like that. They force people to think.
Would you recommend that we read hadiths on our own, or would you advise against it?
I would advise against it unless you have a level of Arabic grammar that's good. I would advise against it. I think Riyadh al-Salihin, Arba'in an-Nawawi, but you still need commentary, and it's best to read hadith with a teacher initially. It really is. I think the Quran for ibadah, the Quran. But I think a lot of trouble has been caused because people went directly to the hadith. It's created a lot of confusion in the modern world. Muslims, and because all the books are accessible, traditionally, they called it wijada in our hadith tradition. Wijada was people that found books and read them without being in a chain, without studying. It's traditionally, I mean, they didn't permit it, the ulama, but over time. Because if like Shaykh Muhammad Yaqubi, may Allah preserve him, he revived the amazing Istanbul publication of al-Bukhari, which is the best one of all the printed editions. So he actually reprinted that recently and wrote an amazing introduction to that. If you have a really good sound, the Deoband have good. They're not well published, but they're actually well edited. Dar al-Minhaj, like this edition of the Mukhtasar of Sahih al-Bukhari, is well edited. But you still every once in a while find mistakes. So, and if you don't know. And then also Imam Madhabs famously, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar." Whoever lies about what I said intentionally, he should take his seat in hell. And that's a mutawatir hadith. So it's multiply transmitted. It's absolutely sound factual hadith. It's as valid as any verse in the Quran. That should give people pause, just because it's very serious. And, he actually said that he would fear that somebody who did not know grammar and quoted hadith with lahan, and may Allah forgive us because I know I've done that in the past. So, but he said that he would be afraid that they would fall into that category of people telling a lie, because the Prophet never had a solecism. He never ever used bad grammar. His grammar was perfect. So one should know nahu and sarf. Especially, sarf is the problem with a lot of hadith. Nahu is relatively easy, as you guys are learning, just in terms of i'rab. It's not that difficult. But sarf is a problem, and also the different. Would you guys agree? Yeah. Because there's a lot of different. Is it hazana yahzunu? Is it hazina yahzanu? Is it hazuna yahzunu? They're all possibilities. So if you just see ha, zay, noon, which one is it? And fortunately, a lot of these are well commented on. So there are great commentaries, and very often they'll tell, this is like ala wazni nasara yansuru. So they'll tell you what it is. If it's like rajafa yarjufu, rajafa yarjufu fu'aduhu, ata khadijata radiyallahu anha, wa yarjufu fu'aduhu. So they'll say in the commentary, rajafa ala wazni nasara yansuru. Because everybody knows nasara yansuru, but not everybody might know rajafa yarjufu. Alhamdulillah.